Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Hutchinson City Council meeting for Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. We'll call the meeting to order. Approve the council agenda. Any agenda additions or corrections?
Mayor, Council, I don't have any additions or corrections for you.
I make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Dave to approve the agenda as presented. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Invocation, Faith Lutheran Church. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Let's pray. O Lord, our gracious God, at this midsummer time with life blooming all around us, we give you thanks for the gift of life, which you grant and sustain so steadfastly. But we thank you, too, for the structures that surround life that you have created, for home and family, for community and neighbors, and for the gift of government. We pray tonight for this local expression of government, for these who have been elected to office, for those staff who work with them, that you would guide their discussion, that you would give them wisdom in their decisions, that you would continue to bless and sustain the life of this community, that it might flourish and be the blessing that you intend for all of your creatures. And so we commend this time into your hands, counting on your steadfast providence for us. These things I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Next is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is recognition of gifts, donations, and community service to the city. Does anyone have anything? All right, we do have a resolution underneath there. We have resolution number 16053, resolution accepting $6,813.53 donation from the Paul Wright, and that's Wright Farms, to the Hutchinson Fire Department for safety equipment and other fighting materials and equipment. And we do have Mr. Wright here.
I think, was Mike going to do an introduction or so? You just following? Okay, so.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and staff. We're here to present our donation to the fire department through our Breakfast on the Farm event. And just to give you a little bit of a background to how we came to this point, our farm being right outside of Hutchinson, we've been kind of the ideal spot to have some community events every fall. The fourth graders come out. We've been doing that for, I think, 15 years. And we've always asked ourselves, can we do one of those Breakfast on the Farm events? And it was finally time to take that off the bucket list and make it reality. And over the course of early winter, we started putting the pieces together to pick a date, and we needed to find something to fundraise for. And farm safety is a very important to the farm community. And we got a hold of Mike to see what is potentially on the list of some funds that could be raised for what they would need to increase their farm safety equipment, and grain bin safety was the one that was very quickly indicated. And unfortunately, grain bins have become one of the leading causes of death nationwide. These bins are getting bigger, and very few people understand how many tons of grain are in just a simple avalanche when those grains decide to shift and somebody's inside there. And so we went with that idea to get those funds towards the fire department, and then it was time to start putting all the pieces together to how to put together a public event in our farm. And we reached out to a lot of the businesses that we work with on our farm, and they were very quick to start sending some very substantial donations and sponsorships towards our event, and that has really built a large fund to be able to be here tonight with this gift. And so we did bring with us the brochures, I believe, were handed out that we had handed everybody that attended our event, and the back page is the list of everybody that sponsored, and it's all the way from our financial partners to our our producer promotion groups, such as the dairy groups and the beef groups and the corn and soybean groups. Everybody wanted in on this to make sure that this was going to be a great event. And when it was all done, we were able to exceed our goal of our gifts being offered to the fire department. And so tonight we're here with, I got to have the dollar amount correct. Again, it is $6,813.53. And I think Mike wanted to talk a little bit about what that will be going for. So.
All right. Well, thank you. So when Paul approached us prior to this event, and and it was unknown to him as well what the outcome was going to be. Were we going to raise $1 or $100 or $1,000? And we had a grain bin rescue last fall, and we have some of the equipment. From that, we knew okay, we need to get a few more things. So when Paul approached us, I said, well, we've definitely got something we're looking at as far as purchasing. We're also going to move a grain bin to our training site, so it's there permanently. That's actually going to happen this week, thanks to this. But it gave an opportunity for, and I even asked him when he called me with what the final dollar amount was. I said, "Are you sure? Because that's a lot more than $100 or $1,000." So, but it was a great event. We were out there with the crew that day, and it was really neat to see your family farm kind of on display, and just ag in general. There's a lot of people from town and other towns and there for that event. So we appreciate you thinking of us. And that rescue equipment will be coming here. Again, the grain bin's coming this week or next, and we'll be ordering some more rescue equipment here right away. So we'll be fully geared up soon. This more than covers it, so we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Say, Paul, did you get Mike to get up in the barn and throw some bales for you?
We didn't do that. We didn't get we didn't get him to milk a cow either, but maybe next time.
Thank you very much. Moving on, pulpit comment, citizens addressing the council. Just please come forward, state your name and address for the record. All right, moving on, we have approval of minutes. We have the regular meeting minutes of June 23rd, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Tim, second by Dave to approve those minutes. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
You say nay. Motion carries. I suppose we should accept.
I don't think we actually approved the resolution. So.
I thought you were getting nervous over here, but can we
Motion to approve resolution 16053.
Oh, second.
Motion by Pat, second by Tim to accept that donation. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yes, say nay. Motion carried. Consent agenda. This will be done with one motion unless somebody pulls something off for discussion. A is consideration for approval of resolution number 16049, resolution approving authorization to apply for a redevelopment grant from the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development for the Jorgensen Hotel redevelopment project. B is consideration for approval of resolution number 16050, resolution approving commit to provide local match and authorization contract signatures for the Jorgensen Hotel redevelopment project.
Gary, I should have brought this up, not to pull for discussion, but in my paragraph 4 of 16050, it says that the city would be liable if the developer would not get it done, but I understand, Matt, that the city won't be liable for those dollars.
We should just discuss that. We can pull it.
So can we pull that out?
Yeah. So.
Okay.
I'd like to do that then.
All right, C is consideration for approval of resolution number 16052, resolution appointing election judges for primary election. D is consideration for approval of authorizing an application for a request for the U.S. Army-owned equipment to be used for static display purposes at the Hutchinson Municipal Airport. E is consideration for approval of grant amendment for snow removal equipment shed. F is consideration for approval of amending South Park Water Tower lease agreement with Midwest Wireless, DBA Verizon Wireless. J is consideration for approval of out-of-state travel for Miles Seppel to attend the Economic Development Council Summit in Rapid City, South Dakota. H is a consideration for approval issuing catering permit to Marshall Paulson of Picnic Linden Hills on August 15th, 2026 at the McLeod County Fairgrounds. I is consideration for approval issuing temporary liquor license to the McLeod County Agricultural Association from August 20th through the 23rd, 2026 for the McLeod County Fair. J is consideration for approval of temporary liquor license to St. Anastasia Catholic Church on September 12th and 13th, 2026 for the Fall Festival. K is consideration for approval of issuing short-term gambling license to St. Anastasia Catholic Church on the 12th and 13th, 2026. L is consideration for approval of issuing short-term gambling license to the Hutchinson Fire Department Relief Association on September 12th, 2026. And M is claims appropriation and contract payments register A. Pat, what did you want pulled off?
B under,
7B.
yeah, 7B, sorry. It's in regards to the approval of resolution 16050.
Have a motion to approve the balance.
Motion to approve the balance.
Second.
Motion by Pat, second by Dave to approve the balance. Taking B, 7B off. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. 7B.
Well, my concern, and Matt, you kind of answered, I just wanted to be clear that in that, it says that should the deal not be done in 5 years, that the city could be liable for up to 100% of the grant that may be awarded.
Sure.
Since it's the developer that's gonna be the person, not us, I would like that to fall on him 100% instead of the city.
So, couple things. There's a reference there to state statute. I think the statute falls on the responsibility of the city to assist with that responsibility. The conversation I had with the EDA director is that if the city has awarded a grant, there'll be a grant agreement with the developer that will put that liability on the developer.
That's the only way I'd be willing to vote yes on.
Yes, and so that's the understanding that I was given. I think this is somewhat of a requirement of state
Right.
statute, but if you want to say to redirect our authority for him to get the grant of money, there'll be agreement between the city and the developer in which that will be laid out their responsibility, or his responsibility to do that, so.
Thank you.
And a second follow-up on this, because that money isn't earmarked in any budget or any kind of, because you're looking at 5 years out and you're saying, okay, we just got hit with, I don't know the total amount, I'm not looking at it, but.
Yeah, so this is authorizing the city to go after that grant,
Just to apply for the grant.
to apply for the grant. Right now, that could be
Could get turned down, I mean.
Could be turned down, could be 50,000, could be 200, I don't know what the dollar amount is, that's the process that we'll be going through. So if we were to get that grant, it's for that redevelopment project of the Jorgensen.
Earmarked for that.
And I had the same questions you did
Yeah,
on that.
and so
Just go
part of
over.
state requirement says the development authority that's going after the grant is responsible for paying if they don't meet the obligations of the reason that their grant was given for. And so what I was telling Pat is, or I was explaining to Pat in the public is that we do this with a lot of our developments, is that we then enter into a grant agreement. If we get a grant on many of our development projects, we enter into a development agreement with that developer that says, says, okay, you're getting this grant from the city because we're the ones who have to apply for it. And if we give that to you, then these are the requirements of you. And a part of that requirement will be the requirement of the developer to pay back the city if they don't meet the requirements of that section of the resolution that's been approved. And
I just haven't seen one of those come up since I've been on the council, so
Yeah.
hold it.
I mean, I'm trying to think. Sometimes those get put into the development agreements too. But yeah, and sometimes personal guarantee in that too. So, but yeah, so that's and I completely understand those concerns. That's how that will be met, is through that grant agreement with the developer.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on it? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Part B of 7B, Resolution 16050.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Pat, second by Dave to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Claims, appropriation, and contract payments, Register B. My son has a check in there and Chad has a check for his business, so we'll be abstaining from the vote.
I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Tim, second by Dave to approve, with Chad and myself abstaining. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. We do not have a public hearing. Communication request petitions, Emerald Ash Borer update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to provide an update. As recent as a couple of months ago, we have traps in place, and we had no indication of emerald ash borer in town, but we'd had a couple of trees of concern up on Rose Lane, which is right along our Highway 715 corridor, so not unusual to see something like that if it were to present itself along a major corridor like that. And was positively identified last week, so we wanted to just provide an update, something we've talked about, often here at council and as part of our annual reports. Asking Donovan and Hannah kind of our numbers at this point. We have about 325 trees left in the boulevard. There's about 12 that are directly impacted right now that we're in the process of removing. And we'll continue the plan that's been in place, which was to remove 50 to 100 again this year. That might get expedited some. We haven't seen a great spread from that neighborhood at this point yet, but we know it's here now, and we'll probably be moving even a little bit quicker. Again, does not take away from the nearly 5,000 that are on private property, and so some kind of a plan or discussion I think will be still had on that aspect and how best we communicate that and provide resources to residents. Again, we have great information out on our website, and that'll continue, and we'll probably add to that in time, but wanted to see if there were any questions, as well as just provide that update at this point.
So Mike, does that, now that we've found it in our community, is there a next step that we have to now jump to as a?
No, nothing really, beyond, for us, it'll just continue the plan that we've kind of been on. Again, we're in a great place funding wise. If we had to remove everything within the next month, we'd have the resources by which to do it. That isn't the plan to do that, but we will likely move even a little bit faster. We're on about a 2-year plan at this point to remove the remaining. I'd say we'd probably stick to that. The death curve for a tree that's infected is about 5 years. It takes about 2 years before it's really evident. Year 3, 4, 5 is where you really want to remove. And again, these 12 that are up there kind of are exhibiting that now. We're not seeing a lot of other signs around town, but we'll likely start to see it once you have it. The next couple of years, I suspect these other trees that we have in some of the Netherlands will definitely start to present themselves.
You may recall, I think it was a year ago they found it. Was it just up by the winery?
Yeah, 2 years ago, just east of town. So again, not surprising. It's kind of come from the north and east. And you'll see it, as you're kind of, now that you know kind of what you're looking for, you'll note it where it was first identified and where it's kind of spread from there, and kind of along that Highway 7 corridor, we're seeing more and more of it. So,
Mike, is the purpose of the delay, because you said we're going to still maintain, maybe expedite it a little bit, Is that because of the labor, or is that just
No,
because of?
it's more of, again, we've got a good plan and we have a very manageable number at this point too. And if we were to see reason for having to expedite it, we probably would. But, the trajectory we're on, we'd remove them all before they become a public hazard. So we don't really see a reason to drop everything and get them all down. We'll get down the ones that are definitely infected. That's a little bit different because those would probably be in year 3 or 4 of that decline. But the rest of them may be in a first year, if even infected at this point, so.
And you said there's 5,000 in public right away.
Private land,
And
private
so you go,
property.
okay, taking down what's on the boulevard isn't gonna stop the spread, and we're probably not gonna be stopping the spread, but to slow it down would be a different. I know
Yeah,
there's a
and
lot of
I wouldn't
communities
even
out
say
there.
this attempt will be to slow it down. The goal would be to get them out of the right of way, so they don't create a public hazard, falling on, cars and things like that. And we'll likely create some kind of a program educational aspect for residents, perhaps vet, tree companies or something like that, try to provide a resource. But to be determined, we'll have that conversation in time and certainly seek your input and things. We'll use the Sustainability Advisory Group and others, for that discussion to be had.
What are communities doing that are completely infected? Because obviously that's going to completely overwhelm the amount of tree guys that are around.
Yeah, I tell you, we're again pretty fortunate because we've we've kind of anticipated this day, and so a credit to the John Olsons and finance and others who had to create a tree fund. A lot of other communities are seeking grants and other things or redirecting resources. We're in good shape financially to take everything down and replace everything if we had to. Again, that won't necessarily be the plan. We'll stay the course, but we're well ahead of the curve. We were a couple thousand boulevard trees, 10 years ago. The fact that we only have 325 remaining is pretty impressive. So most others, I'd say, are in a pretty reactive phase.
Yeah.
We've been pretty fortunate to be in a proactive phase for quite a while.
So Mike, is there a message for private residents that have ash trees?
Yeah, I would say at this point, unless, and we get requests often to come and take a look or consult and things like it. Again, take a look at the website. There's some great information out there. Some folks, depending on the type of tree, may wish to treat. Treatment is pretty effective, but you have to be doing it regularly, annually, I wouldn't say annually to every other year, probably at a minimum. That does start to add up, the hundreds of dollars over an amount of time, but it would buy you some time and it would kind of, what they would say, flatten that death curve of the tree to where maybe you now get 10, 15, 20 years out of it. So that's possible. We've got some information out on that. Others may want to, again, consult and get an idea of what removals and things will be. But as you know, a lot of backyards, there are trees that are in really tough locations and they could get quite costly to remove. So treatment might be an option, but I would encourage residents to familiarize themselves with information and to take a look at what resources exist. We've got some great local resources, both from a treatment. There's some great products at local, retailers. And there's some really good tree companies too. And you're starting to actually see curbside, little placards, of companies reaching out. They may be resources and things too. I wouldn't say we've vetted those, but a lot of the local ones that we work with are good resources.
And I guess even for the public too, and we're obviously not at that stage yet, but they can become a public nuisance that can be addressed by the city if they do get ignored. That's more likely like that 5, 10, 15 years down the road. But that's just something to be mindful of a council, is that, depending on where this goes, we could be dealing with getting back to the point of why we have some of those funds available to us as well.
Yeah, I will say that's probably inevitable at some point. I think we are a few years away from it, but we will probably face that just given the sheer number that are out there. So, but yeah, we'll handle those kind of as we did Dutch elm disease. The ordinance kind of models that.
Just for the public, Mike, you can call the city and You guys can come out and take a look at them.
Yeah, do like they do now. You know, we've got the request an issue problem out on the city's website. That's probably the best way you can provide a little bit more context and information. That's a great resource. We've had a number of residents, I think probably a dozen like requests we've had, you know, in the last 6 months. Continue to use that. A call is fine too, but I would say that allows us to kind of track it a little bit differently. So it's helpful to go that route. But however the information comes in, we'll respond as such.
Well, it'd be nice if they do have an ash tree on their property to let you guys know so you can get it tracked.
Well, the good thing is we have a lot of our trees mapped, so we've got a pretty good handle. And when you have 5,000, you can count on just about everybody has an ash tree or 2 or 3. So they're definitely out there, and we know they're definitely in some neighborhoods more than others. Certainly, newer neighborhoods of the last 20 years, we probably don't see them, but you did see a lot of response from the 1970s with Dutch elm and the removal, and then the replacement come back with a monoculture of ash. So those are the neighborhoods where we'd probably see the 30 and 40-year-old ash trees, 50-year-old ash trees pretty prevalent. So.
All right, anything else for Mike? Thanks for the update.
You're welcome.
Presentation of the City of Hutchinson 2025 year-end report.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I don't really have a huge presentation because the report's 160 pages, so I figured I wasn't going to go through all of that. But I believe this is our 5th or 6th annual report that we put together. It's kind of a summary of all the year-end reports, some of those which are coming presented here at the council meetings. But it's more just a heads up for both the council and the public that this is just a really great resource for a lot of the information on what took place in the past year. And we do some comparisons of, how do we rate with other cities and how's that load looked like in previous years. It's really just a good resource. It's one of the things that we try to do to try to be a little bit more transparent with the public on the things that are going on here at the city. It's something that we use to help track the work of the city. And so it's in front of you tonight for acceptance, and then we'll get that posted on the city's website. That along with the city's financial report, and then even we already have our 2026 budget out there for the public to look at. So a lot of those resources are readily available for the public. So if they ever have questions on a certain subject, we probably have a report on our website regarding this. Is just one more of those reports to help get that information out to the public. So we should, I don't think I had on here, but we should just formally accept that 2025 year-end report. So.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Pat to accept the year-end report. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say nay. Motion carries. We have the 2025 comprehensive financial report.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. We're back here now. Earlier tonight, we had a workshop that Abby Schmidt here is our lead auditor, the senior manager at Abdul, the city's independent audit firm. And she went through this annual financial report in more detail at the prior workshop. So at this point, she's not going to do any formal presentation of it, but we would ask you to formally accept our annual financial report whenever you're done with questions or whenever she's done talking as well. And for the public, it will be in the station on Thursday. There's a summary financial report of this, and then it is on the city's website already for anybody to read if they want.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, if there's any further questions from the earlier workshop, I'm happy to take those. Otherwise, just for the public, we issued an unmodified or clean opinion again for 2025 and no major areas of issue. So.
And the general consensus from that workshop is the city is in good financial health. So.
Excellent report.
Very thorough report, so if people want to look at it, it's there for them to view.
And that one's like 200 pages.
Yes, that one's. I started to see where it started, and I kept doing it.
Yeah, I think this is one of our largest council packets.
But it's very, yeah, 531 pages for anybody that was counting. But it was very thorough. It was very well explained, so if people have questions, I think it was a great job.
And I think we don't do this enough, and thank our finance division their staff for keeping us in tune with what's happening with finances. I mean, we can call anytime and get questions answered. And we get a good insight from them on where things are happening and what's happening in the city. So thank you, Andy, to the staff there and to you for keeping us on track.
Super easy to work with, and like you said, we always get great responses as a partner to the city as well. So.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion
Thank you.
by Pat, second by Chad to approve the financial report. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say nay. Motion carries. We have resolution number 16051, resolution authorizing the sale of general obligation improvement bonds series 2026A and public utility revenue bonds series 2026B.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. So before I introduce Nick Anhut, he's with Ellers and Associates, our bond counsel. I just wanted to go through some of the projects we're looking at bonding for here. Tonight's the initial phase in this process, and then we'll come back in a month to actually sell bonds. But the top of this sheet that you're looking at, I'll see if I can make it bigger. The top half is what I show you most years. It's our roadway projects, which we bond for each year. And what I really want to focus on is more of the funding sources off to the right. You can see the percentages in red. For the roadway projects, we're looking at about 3.6 million, just under that in total costs. And we're funding about 53% of it with other funding sources than debt. So our municipal state aid is paying for about 25% of our costs. Enterprise centers, or enterprise funds, water, wastewater, stormwater are paying for about 10% of these costs. And then the homeowners who are benefiting from the projects are paying for about 18% of the costs through special assessments, leaving 47% funded by our new debt that we'll be issuing. And then below that here, just wanted to show you, because a lot of times we don't speak about our current policies and our debt plan. But according to our debt plan, our annual target for new debt is 1.9 million. And this year we're at about 1.74 million. So keeping within our parameters of our debt plan, which is good, and also helps on keeping our debt as low as possible. Below that, we have our fire truck. The next two items actually are kind of abnormal. We don't issue this kind of debt very often, but the ladder truck, we actually approved the purchase of that, I think a year and a half ago. We actually paid our first installment for the chassis in 2025, and we'll have payments in 2026 and 2027 as well. But again, in the red percentages there, you can see out of that almost 2.1 million in total cost, we're funding 60% from other city funds. The enterprise funds of water, wastewater are contributing, in addition to our equipment replacement fund and our capital projects fund, leaving 41% funded by new debt. And then finally, the wastewater bonds. We have a fairly significant project going out there to improve the biosolid processing. So total cost just under 5.8 million. The wastewater fund reserves are paying for roughly 59% of that cost, and then new debt would cover about 41% of the cost.
But that debt's being paid for by?
Oh, yeah. That debt's paid solely by the wastewater fund, where the other two, the ladder truck and the roadways, those are paid by the city's debt tax levy, which essentially are paid by property owners. And then down at the bottom, total cost, all three, just under 11.5 million, with almost a 50-50 split funded by city reserves and new debt. So I think we're doing a good job of utilizing other funding sources rather than just relying on debt to pay for these projects. And we always like to look at our debt management plan, see how we're doing. I I know you guys look at this every year, but you can see the majority of our debt is tied up in the roadway improvements, which is kind of that beige colored within the graph. And then we also have some debt related to the police facility in blue, and then the new debt being proposed for the fire ladder truck in red. But what I wanted to focus on is more at the bottom here. I wonder if I can blow it up just a little bit. In 2027, we were looking at about a 2.5% increase in our debt levy regardless of the new ladder truck debt. And that was just a function of our roadway improvements. So with the ladder truck, we're looking at about a 5.1% increase in our debt levy, and that's highlighted in yellow. So 5.1% increase in the debt levy, that translates into a 1.4% total city tax levy increase. And just to remind you, our total city levy not only includes the debt service funds, but also our general fund levy. So it's all the costs, all the levy to keep our city operating, our police, our fire, park and rec. So 1.4% total city levy increase. And the fire truck alone, the new debt on that would increase the property taxes for the median home value by about $14. That would be a $14 above and beyond their other taxes for the duration of the truck debt. So I guess that's all. Oh, maybe off to the right here, I wanted to show you this too, just because, again, we don't talk about our debt plan too much. But on the far right, our annual target levy for debt is $2.6 million for roadway improvements. And you can see throughout the course of this analysis, we're staying underneath that target levy. And then our facility debt per our policy is staying within $500,000 target levy. And you can see early years we're above that, but later years we fall well under that $500,000. So in total, our debt plan says we're going to stick to about $3.1 million of annual debt levy, and we're well under that as well throughout this analysis. You can see the levy actually stabilizes in about 2029, 2030, and then we have a fairly flat levy there indicated by that red line. So that's all I had to throw at you ahead of Nick. Now I'll just turn it over to him. He's going to go through the pre-sale report for both the city and Hutch Utilities.
Thank you, Andy. Mayor, members of the council, Nick Anhut with others. So coming before you with a resolution to kick off the potential sale of bonds to fund the projects that Andy just went over, but also another layer to it is funding for the Hutch Utilities and paying for a portion of their substation and other projects that they're underway with this year. So the total amount of bonds that are being authorized for the city project, I'll call them the city project, they're all city projects, but the projects that Andy went over is about $5.7 million. These bonds can be supported by the general obligation pledge of the city, so that's a backing of your full faith and credit you provide to the market, and that's their security, or basically your promise that you're making that you'll do everything you can within your financial capabilities to ensure that those levies get adopted to repay the debt. And in exchange for that, the market takes that information, takes that into consideration as the level of risk for their investment. And because of that geo-backing and your credit history, which is very strong, they are able to provide you lower interest rates than otherwise in other forms of financing. Our estimates in that pre-sale report are roughly about a 4% interest cost on that $5.7 million worth of bonds. It'll be paid back in a variety of different ways. So as mentioned, the wastewater fund will pay back the portions for that project. That'll be over a 10-year term. And then the pavement management and the fire truck will be paid back through the debt levy over a 15-year term. All of those combined, our forecast shows about a 4% interest cost, conservatively based on kind of our read of where the market's at right now. With all intention We hope that those numbers are high and it'll actually come in lower to that, but our projections right now, conservatively, not knowing where things are going over the course of the next month, is a 4% interest cost. We also propose that within that resolution that these bonds are competitively sold, so we'll help finance staff put together an offering document, circulate those out to the marketplace, and potentially award it to the lowest bidder. So we'll ask for proposals that will open on your behalf in your August council meeting, and then I'll come before you at that time with those bids with the idea of lowering it or offering it to the lowest potential bidder based on the most favorable bid received. I'll transition to the utility bonds. So these are a little bit of a different animal. They're going to go towards electric projects, and under statute, unless there's a referendum that's approved, a city cannot provide its general obligation support for an electric financing. So what is offered as a security then is a pledge on or a first lien on the net revenues of the electric and gas utility. The Hutch Utilities through the city has issued debt before for its projects, 2012, 2017. There are 2 outstanding bonds that are out there right now. They have that first lien pledge on those net revenues. We're proposing that this issue would also have that parity lien on those net revenues. We've got a very solid history of paying off those debts, and the utilities manages its funds and its rate covenants to provide enough revenue to support the debt obligation, and we don't see that this would create any problems in the forecast. In fact, there's actually a sizable component of existing bonds that are falling off shortly, and so this is being timed in a way so that it not only will existing obligations are about $3 million a year. Even with these new bonds coming in play, you'll still be reducing that by about $1.5 million per year in payments. So this is going to match up perfectly with retiring some of that old debt, so it won't put any kind of operating burden on the utility. Those bonds are going to be paid back over an 11-year term, consistent with the other set of bonds that will remain outstanding. So both of those will actually be paid off over the same time frame, and then the utility commission will be debt-free at that point. Our forecast is actually a similar interest rate on that. Now, typically, because it doesn't have the general obligation pledge, we would expect that those would price at a higher interest rate, usually by about 0.25, 0.3 percentage points. But because it's a shorter time frame of repayment, it's actually, the math kind of works out that we're actually forecasting about a 4.03% interest rate on that transaction. So they look close, they're different animals, but hopefully they'll end up in kind of a similar regard. So I know I just dropped a lot on you. We are also proposing to bid those out using a competitive sale process. Again, because of the strong credit that the Utility Commission also has and a history of financial performance that supports repayment, we don't think that the market needs anything in addition to that, and we think it'll be received well, and we expect to get multiple bids on that financing as well. So all that said, there is a resolution before the council to kick this off and provide the initial authorization, but you're just authorizing going out to receive bids on your behalf. The actual locking in on the terms of the financing will be in August when those bids are presented to you.
I know last year when you came back, you had multiple bids. Is that kind of what you're looking at this year?
Yeah, we received 7 bids on the general obligation bonds last year, which was a great turnout. We're typically happy with 5. 7, we'll take more. But yeah, that's the idea, is that we're able to actually go out and receive input from not just one bank, not just one lender, but actually the entire market, and have them compete against each other to provide the best proposal for the city. So I do expect we won't receive as many bids for the public utility revenue bonds, just apples to apples. Now that may very well change, but typically we don't see as much interest in those types of financing. But we still think it's going to be, more than three or four bids. So.
Anything else? Entertain a
I'm
motion.
sorry, I missed what was the dollar amount on the utility one?
It's $4,295,000.
So are we just under, are we at
We
that?
formulated it to stay under the $10 million
was
bank
my-
qualification
Okay,
threshold.
that was my question. I know, because we were thinking we may be over that
Right,
at that one
right.
point.
Thankfully, Hutch Utilities was willing to bring theirs down a little
Okay.
bit to stay under it.
Okay. So, and that would have had an impact on our interest rates, correct? Had we been above that, so.
Right. So both of these projects are benefiting the public. They're governmental projects, and so you can obtain the benefit of tax exemption on the financing. But with all things IRS, there are some thresholds and limitations, and so when cities go above $10 million in annual tax exempt financing, you fall into a different category, and we tend to not price as well in the market with those tax considerations. So, as Andy said, that was in the forefront of our minds in discussions with the Utility Commission, and they were willing to kind of shave their initial ask. They're still going to be able to, fund their projects, but we're going to make sure that we don't exceed that threshold so that both can benefit from the lowest rates.
I'll just put a plug in. You guys may recall, I think it was a year ago, we had sent letters to our federal representatives because they were talking about getting rid of the tax exempt status for bonds, which would have automatically basically increased the taxes for every resident. Most cities do tax exempt bonds. So.
Yeah, we would probably be looking at more like probably a 4.75% to 5% interest rate if these were taxable bonds, and so you get to achieve that benefit, and that really cuts the levy down that's necessary to pay back these debts. So.
That's it.
Anything else?
Section approve 16051.
I'll second.
Motion by Pat, second by Chad to approve. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
See you in a month. Thank you.
Do a good job for us like last year.
Next month.
Do we have minutes, reports from committee, boards, or commissions? So we have the 2025 general fund financial results. Hutchinson Utilities Commission meeting minutes from May 27th, 2026, and Liquor Hutch quarterly reports. Chief Gifferson, you got anything for us tonight? They all took off, Mike, now you're the only one. Got anything else for us?
Mike, do you have an update on the streets? I've had a couple questions on that, so just a quick.
Yeah, real quick, Edmonton again, finished and open, and the other street projects, I'd say within about the next month. Utility progress, they should be wrapping up next week. We've got drain tile, to continue on, a little bit of subcut work, and then concrete could be starting as early as next week also. And then it looks like at this point, kind of the part A and B of the project, paving will get done all in one project or one doing. And again, we'd say within the month we should be wrapping that up. And again, that includes Boulder and Larson, as well as in that area around the village core.
So they're going to do all the paving at one time?
Correct. The way it
That
looks
answers-
right now, yeah, we thought it'd be kind of like paving, finish, move to, the B portion. Right now, it looks like they'll just do it combined, if we were to guess.
No, that's,
And concrete, I think, will go the same way.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, they're progressing well. The weather, other than the heat, haven't had rain issues, which has been good.
Thanks.
Edmund Street turned out well, or Edmund.
Very good. And the trail project itself, really good too. That both were state aid fund projects, but that trail was in need also. And so it's great to get kind of both of them done. But yeah, ride quality has vastly improved. Keep in mind, next year we do that roundabout there. So that will then take that entire stretch from Jefferson and complete that within the 2 years all the way out to Highway 15. So be a vast improvement along that whole corridor.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mike. Mark, what do you got for us tonight?
Nothing.
Matt, what do you have?
I know we periodically get questions about the fountain in the Crow River and why it's not running. I think we had issues, I think we're assuming it was muskrats ate through the power cables, and so, we're working on getting those replaced, and we're looking at some upgraded systems to hopefully prevent that in the future. Like I said before, the Crow River is not a great thing to, I'm just thankful that those costs have been covered in the past by the Birch Foundation. Not necessarily this cord, but they paid for the installation of that. But that's why after we teased everybody in the fall that it's not up and running now. So, and then I heard that since I was gone last meeting, it was the best meeting ever. But I did want to let the board know.
Well, just since 2008. I don't know about before that.
Okay.
You make sure you put that in
Well
your
oiled
yearly
machine here,
report.
man.
I did want to let you know it wasn't without vein, and that I did get appointed to the League of Minnesota Cities
Congratulations.
board. So I will be representing the city on that statewide board for at least hopefully the next 3 years.
Looking at you to be an integral part of getting the LGA increased
Yep,
each year.
That's my goal, my one personal goal. No, so
I think the Birch Foundation should mount that fountain by Little Crow and just have a nice arc going out into the river.
that's it. That's it for me.
That's it? Timmy, let's start with you tonight.
I have nothing tonight.
Dave,
Gonna be short. Nothing in that.
okay? Pat?
Had a public arts meeting last week, and Justin Beck, who's been the chair for quite a while, is done. His term is up, so got a new chair and we've got a full committee and looking to do some more things besides just the sculpture stroll. So good meeting.
That it? That's it?
That's it.
Chad?
Went to River Song over the weekend. It was a great event. Just like to thank all the volunteers that make that happen. And it was hot, but there weren't any thunderstorms this year, so it was good.
No,
So that's all I had.
didn't go running.
What's that?
Didn't go running quick?
Oh, didn't have to run. Some years there is, so.
Well, I don't have anything. So let's go home.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Pat, second by Chad, to adjourn. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Hi.
We'll say nay. Motion carries. Good evening.